T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Hello everyone, my name is Phil McGurk. I am the director of Carsi. So this is a blog and vlog. I'm learning these new terminologies. I just thought I'd have a quick vlog about what Carsi is, how it got started, who am I, what you're going to be seeing, and you'll be hopefully seeing a lot more of these. So let's get started anyway. So how this come about was back in February of 2020. I'd just returned from the States back to Australia and had got to a point in my business that I felt as I'd come to the end of working in my business, and I'd been looking at ways and means to work on my business. It was either that or get out of the industry altogether. So I'd been in the industry since 97 is when I first started as a full-time technician, as a carpet cleaner. I owned my own business for the last 9 years. So this will be my 10th year, if I remember correctly. So it's a bit of a milestone for me, but started with virtually nothing. This is the business I started from scratch with a little bit of money that I had in my pocket to start with. So I wasn't handed anything. This is not a second generation or third generation. But what I want to share is how I've got to where I am in under 10 years. So how Carsi come about and what I'm trying to achieve with Carsi, I suppose, is to pull the industry together. So what I mean by that is I feel that there is a lot of independent people doing their own little things. There's larger organizations and national and international organizations that are trying to do things, but I feel that they tend to forget about the day-to-day operations of the small to medium-sized businesses. And I can say that quite comfortably because I was on the board of one of those industry bodies for a couple of years and saw how hard it was to implement things into the industry. So a lot of time and effort was going on in the back scenes. Myself, I was putting in 20 to 25 hours of work a week. And there was a board as well that were putting in many hours as well. And it just seemed very difficult for the wheels to turn. So cast ourselves back to February. I got into a position in February, and how it started in February is that I just come back from the States and I put on a new business partner. So in the business itself, I decided that in 2019 that I needed to bring somebody else into the business as a owner. I felt that I needed somebody with some skin in the game, so they had to bring something, and that something had to be on them to provide that additional, I suppose, care of the business. And they also felt if it didn't work out, it was going to affect them financially as well. So that's sort of what I mean by skin in the game. I had a manager for 4 years. And what I mean by manager is that up until that point, I was working in the business day to day, hands in, touching base with the admin staff. So I sort of felt that I was managing the business up until I had to put somebody on. So I could, at that stage, step out of a vehicle, a truck in day to day and focus on the business itself and the growth and the vision that I had for it to move forward. Now, saying that, I don't have any business degree. I'm not like educated as far as university. I left school and went straight to work. But what I do know about myself is that I'm not afraid to ask for help. So I've been quite fortunate in my career that I've actually had some very good people around me. Some of them become very good mentors to me, and they still are to this day. And we're 23, 24 years later. But by knowing my weaknesses and being true to myself, I've developed these strong group of people around me to help me develop my business. So when I first started the business, so I'd working for someone. I was actually on a really good wage. I was convinced to start my own business. I really, at that point of time, had not even thought about having my own business. And to start with, the guy I was working with didn't have much experience, but listening to him, he had the funds to start a business. He also had a degree in I think it was accounting or something along those lines. I don't think it was marketing. I'm pretty sure it was accounting. And so he was university educated and was coming into a large amount of money through a sale of his property and wanted to invest into a business and saw that the cleaning and restoration had potential to have a business with growth and sustainability. So he talked to me and sort of discussed the options. And at that point, I didn't have enough funds to start a business, take care of 2 wages, buy equipment, buy a vehicle, and get started. So I didn't have that sort of fund. So I'm thinking in my head I needed $70,000 to $100,000, and I just didn't have those funds. So he convinced me that he had the funds, and it was quite convincing. At the time, he just had a new girlfriend, and at that point of time, I thought he had funds in the bank, but it turned out that he was taking her money. Long story short, 3 months into this new relationship, new business, he was nothing but a liar. So he did me for not only money, but the time and energy. And I lost a contact that was a good mentor to me during the process as well. So it hurt a bit that way. It took me about 3 years to get back on my feet. I maxed out my credit cards. I'd maxed out my savings. And potentially I could have gone under at that point, but I could see that there was a way to get out. And that way to get out was me working hard. So it started off with just myself, and within about 2 weeks, I decided to get my first employee, which was a massive strain, I suppose, with what had been going on. But in myself personally, I find that if I've got someone else's mouth to feed, I'll always try harder. It's just sort of who I am. If I find myself in trouble, I can always get myself out. I don't mind hard work. It may not look like it. I'm a bigger guy now, but I used to be quite fit and agile. And it's just, I suppose, the way we were brought up was just to work. I've had a job. I've got my first job when I was 12 years old. And up until the age of 37, I think it was, I'd always been employed and never had a Christmas holiday. I had my first Christmas holiday when I was 37. I had 2 weeks off, and I'm now 45, and I just had my second Christmas off, and I spent it in the office while the staff were away. So I sort of become a workaholic, I believe. And when you have a business, it's important to understand that it takes time and energy. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but there has to be a light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of people, have heard this, but a lot of people sort of go into business and they're their own employee. So they don't employ anybody, it's just them, or they may have their wife do some of the books, and they make a good living out of it. But at the end of the day, it's just a job. You've just created a job for yourself. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a career and a saleable asset. So a retirement plan. So after 3 years, what happened was I was able to clear my debts, and I was also able to pay back my ex-business partner's girlfriend of every last dollar that she lost from him. Now, I didn't have to do that, but I felt it was the right thing to do because she got dragged into this. And, I finished off with a business. She didn't. She funded that business, and she could have shut it down at any moment of time. So I felt in myself that it was the best business decision. And just for myself, the best thing to do was to pay her back as well. And that took me 3 years, but I paid her back over $70,000 in the end. That's how much it was. So it was a fair chunk of change. But anyone getting into the restoration industry can understand the cost of business. And it's not that you get paid straight away as well. So you're funding, and you almost become the bank for clients up until you get paid. Like, we don't get paid sometimes for 3 months after we finish the claim. So it's not the easiest industry to be in. And I felt at the start of it that I had enough contacts that I could simply ride the wave if I had those people around me to support me, and I did. I was very grateful, and I'm still grateful this day. And actually, we're very good friends. My wife and I are very good friends with the lady that helped us out to this day. So that's a great friendship that's come out of it. So it got to the point in my business that I needed to do something different. I guess all business owners come to this, or even workers come to this realization that the cleaning and restoration is, I wouldn't call it a soul-sucking industry, but it's one of those industries where you feel that you're, I don't know, there's no appreciation sometimes. We deal a lot with insurance companies, and we seem to feel that we're the last on the totem pole. We're just the cleaners. Everybody else can do whatever they want, but we're the cleaners, and you'll pay for the mistakes. And I want to get away from that feeling. I wanted to expand myself into something else. And what I've been doing for the last 20 years, 25 years is courses, seminars, webinars, trade schools, traveling, talking to people. And I thought, how could I use the information I have to benefit our industry? And when I look at our industry, I look at our industry in a couple different ways. I look at it as the small to medium, or the independent business owners. And I look at it as the franchise or large industry. And why I do that is because I feel that the larger the body, the more availability they have for procedures. Where the smaller you are, you're tending more to do those procedures in your head, and then you sort of train someone off those procedures, but they don't get written down. So when you have when you look at what you have as a saleable asset, and we don't have all those procedures in place, if someone was to come in and buy your business and you walked out, you're probably taking that business with you. Where the franchise and the larger business, if the owner steps away, well, then there's systems in place for someone to take that business over and it'll be still running. So that's why I sort of look at it in that perspective. And so I thought to myself, okay, so what do we have in my business, which is just a small to medium sized business? We currently employ somewhere between 14 and 20 people. And that just depends on our workload. So we do have a few casuals, but we have about 15 or 16, I think it is now, full-time staff. So, there's a bit of responsibility to get it right. And the biggest thing that I can see in the industry is we're lacking in development of our people, our skills, our management, and what's required of us. And I feel that the money is spent on the education of how to do something in the field, the machinery, the chemicals, a bit of software, but there's no real drive for the people, for the small business owners. So that's where I sort of had the idea of building something for the industry that was for the business owner that was in that small to medium sized bracket business. So March come along and I spoke to my business partner and sort of said to him that I needed to get out of the office that we're in. It's a decent sized office, but with any office, and if you're in the office, it seems to be that all the issues come to you, all the problems come to you, and you're always resolving something. There's always something going on in a business, where I felt if I was to get away from that environment into a clean environment, I'll be able to achieve a lot more and produce a lot more. So we sat down and talked about the steps, how we're going to do it, the time frame. I guess we did a SWOT analysis. We looked at our strengths, our weaknesses, the opportunities, and then we looked at the funds, how much funds we were going to set aside. And initially, I suppose when we went into this, we were thinking maybe $200,000 for the first year. I think we'll go pretty close to $500,000 at this stage for our first year. And so it's a large investment, but as well as myself and my business partner, we felt it was something that would not only benefit business, which it has dramatically, but would benefit the industry as a whole. And so one of the questions he asked me was, why do I want to help other people? And look, I didn't hesitate. To me, it's about involving the industry, bringing the industry up, and hoping people want to come on the journey. I've met a great bunch of people in the States and in Australia and also in New Zealand that want to ride the same pathway, but just find it hard to do so because you're constantly working in your business and the outside help just isn't there. So what we want to do, I suppose how Kasi got started was we had to come up with a name, and we threw around a few. What we didn't want is we didn't want to copy or go close to anybody else's abbreviations or letters or anything like that. So we knew we had to stick with what we are and who we're catering for, which is the cleaning and restoration. So that was our start-off base, which is the CAR. But then we wanted to build it into maybe a university or an institute or a group, a league, or something along those lines that we could open it up to not just the restoration and cleaning, but to other industries as well that can come in and help what we're trying to set up. So that's where the science come in. So there's a lot of science with cleaning. There's chemicals, procedures. So there's a lot of things that come into that. So there's the indoor environmentals, so hygienes. We've seen a massive increase of that sort of stuff with COVID-19. And so what we wanted to do, we wanted to involve that. So that's the science, which is the S. And we finished off with the Institute. So it's just the Cleaning and Restoration Science Institute. And then we looked at, okay, what do we need as a logo? So when we were looking at a logo, we looked at who was our target audience, where was our target audience, and how could we keep it simple enough that it was a recognizable brand that's as simple as the Nike Swish or McDonald's M's. And so I was looking around and I saw this globe sort of picture. And then I just added the north, south, east, west arrows. And that's how the logo come about. Picked our brands, pretty neutral brand colors. And that's how we got started. So that was in March. In the start of April, I leased a premise off-site from the main office. Probably it's only 7 or 8 minutes away from the main office, but far enough away, but close enough that we can still keep in contact. I was also looking at other revenue streams for the startup business because there was a large cost. And to start with, looked at, okay, how can we, if we've got some office space, how can we utilize that additional office space until we grow into it? And the idea came about for a podcast room or some sort of room that we could do some recordings in, which is the room I'm in right now. And that's how it started. So got started, built a business plan, and I already had an employee working for the company in the fire division. So they were one of our dedicated fire division cleaning staff. And she also had a marketing background. She'd worked with another company on marketing, Google, Facebook, website development. And she'd also been a manager for a national organisation or 2 national organisations prior to working with me. So she had some skills that I thought I could utilise quickly and in the direction of where I was trying to go. And that direction was to build an online platform with multiple learning abilities. So some people learn by reading, some people learn by doing, some people need to watch, some people need a combination. And that was the whole idea, was to build this platform. Now, I'm not very savvy when it comes to all this new fandangle electronic stuff. But my son, who's 22 at the time, he is. He'd done a computer data course through his school years. He'd also done some animatronics. So I thought that he'd be fantastic to bring into the team for our videos and all that sort of stuff as well. So the team was born, and that was back in April. And so since April, the 3 of us have worked full-time non-stop. So it's now January 2021. So that's, a full 8 months. And to this date, we still haven't released our main platform. So our main platform is for the fundamentals of business. And that's how we called it. We call it the Fundamentals of Business Framework. And it's designed for no matter where your business is, whether you're just starting, you've only just started, or you could be currently been going for years. As I said, I've been going for nearly 10 years now. And we've actually put this process into our business, and we're actually changing certain things in our business to meet these models.